You don't have to hold my hand. You don't have to understand why I feel the way I do. From the moment I first saw you, still I shiver through my soul. Once I was a All right, everybody, it's Tuesday evening. Want to bid everybody a good evening, and thank you all for joining us again for another show. Tonight's going to be a good one. Won't be as salacious as a lot of the other ones that we've done, but I think that from a cultural perspective, definitely going to be just as important. So for those of you who are joining us now, go ahead and put your city and your state in the chat area. And if you know anybody that you think can add to the conversation or benefit from what we're speaking on, please feel free to add them to the conversation. If you are watching us on Facebook, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are on YouTube at the Trademark Network. If you are currently on YouTube, then go ahead and share it with somebody. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Tonight's call is going to be awesome, man. I'm excited about this one. I think this is one that God really put on my heart to make happen. And I got an all-star panel that's going to help me get through it. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. All right. So my name is Ken Lawrence, guys. And tonight we are talking about a very important topic. We're going to talk about male masculinity. Are men being taught to truly be masculine, or are we taught to only be hard? Okay, I think it's a big difference, and hopefully tonight, by the time we get through this conversation, it'll give you guys something to think about and give you an opportunity to really ponder the notion on, are we really teaching masculinity the right way? So I'm going to go ahead and add my panel on for tonight and allow them the opportunity to introduce themselves. All right. How's everybody doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. So let's go ahead and do our introductions. As always, we'll start with the lady first.
Well, hi, my name is Niat Ridgeway.
All right. Mr. Hayes.
Alterique Hayes, Fayetteville, North Carolina.
All right. Mr. Brooks, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Introduce yourself, my brother.
Dandridge Brooks. I'm in Portland, Texas.
All right. So the reason why I have this particular panel together, Niette actually has a son who I think she sees, the effects of masculinity on a daily basis. Alterique is actually in the sports arena, and we know that when it comes to masculinity and testosterone, it runs hard and heavy in the athletic spectrum. And Mr. Brooks is in the military. So same principle, highly masculine, high testosterone areas. So I appreciate all of you all for joining the panel tonight. Like I say, when we start each panel, man, my goal tonight is not for right or wrong. It's simply for us just to have a conversation, and hopefully by the end of the night, we'll have the opportunity to see things from a couple of different perspectives. So two things actually fueled me to have this conversation tonight. Number one was the killing. I think the guy's name was Young Dolph in the Memphis area. seeing that brother being gunned down the street, and knowing that there are a lot of other successful guys that come back to their hometowns and get gunned down by senseless violence. And also, there was a podcast that I watched from Jason Holmes with a guy named Lewis Holmes. I'm sorry, with a guy named Jason Wilson. And the topic of that particular podcast was defining masculinity and its power. If you guys get an opportunity to watch it, please do. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description once this thing is done. But very, very powerful webinar. And basically, what the guy was talking about was, when it comes to our young men, are we truly teaching them what masculinity is, or are we just telling them to be hard? And I know for me, I came from a single parent household. I was raised by my mom, my grandmother, and my aunt. And I think I got the best of both worlds. They taught me how to be responsible and not to be a wuss, but at the same time, they taught me how to be compassionate too. And I think that in a lot of the teachings that we have right now, that compassion piece is something that a lot of people are actually missing. So, Niet, I'll ask you, when we talk about masculinity, what comes to your mind when we say a masculine man?
Honestly, when I think of a masculine man, that's someone who basically leads the room that he's entering. Like, his energy commands respect. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yeah, we got you.
Yes.
Okay. So it's more like he has this leadership. And I think when I think of masculinity, men, in my opinion, they operate from more of a logical aspect. They're not as keen to make decisions from emotion. So, it's honestly, I can't define it directly, to be
It's hard.
clear. There's like really no clear definition of what masculinity is. But when I see it, I respect it. Put it like that. I see it and I respect it.
Yeah, I agree with what you said about there's really no technical definition for it. Al Tariq, what do you think about masculinity as far as a definition of it? Think you're on mute, dude.
Yeah. You got it.
Yeah, gotcha.
All right, good. I said that's subjective, so it's kind of hard to put a one definition on it. I mean, my an interpretation of it, I would say someone who, like Niet kind of alluded to, leads, someone who stands on principle, don't waver because of a crowd. Whoever, whatever they're comfortable with about themselves, they display it no matter who likes it or not.
All right, solid. All right, Brooks, what's your definition of masculinity?
I think I'm gonna ride with Al Tariq. Is subjective, but I'm also have to say that it's identity based, man. It's within the individual, because I'm gonna use me for an example, and I heard you say it as well. Your upbringing. Um, I was raised up in the home with mom and dad, but I'm able to identify with who I am, with my morals, or the way I present myself. I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that I'm 100% man, but I could also identify with the compassionate aspect of the female to a certain degree. So I don't think that makes me feel less than a man just because I'm able to identify with the female's compassionate aspect. Because the truth be told, they have some females that are not compassionate at all, just as well as some men that are not compassionate at all. So being able to, I think masculinity is all about the individual, is being able to identify within themselves, regardless to where you are, what you're doing, or whatever the case may be. That's what I feel about it.
Good stuff. And it's ironic that Niet said that, because if you go into the dictionary and actually look up the definition for the word masculinity. Even the definition in the dictionary is very, very vague. You know, and in my opinion, the way that they describe it, I think they describe it from a point of negativity also. Words I saw in the dictionary to describe masculinity were non-emotional, hostile, aggressive, all those type of things right there. That when, for me, when I think about true masculinity, that's not what I think about at all. When I see those words, I think about a vessel that to some degree is being, you know, not being able to express themselves. And I think that oh, too often that's where we have that divide at where we kind of borderline make people non-emotional instead of actually being masculine. So Al and I had talked about this a while back. There's a term that floats around often when we talk about toxic masculinity. All right, and I'll come to you first, Al Tariq. How do you feel about that term, man? When you hear it, toxic masculinity?
I believe that was a term made up. I'm getting some feedback. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I believe that was a term that was made up to describe a certain demographic of people, um, certain demographic of males, I would say. And, they gave us names like that in the recent past. It was a term called super predator.
Right.
So when I hear toxic masculinity, that's another one that's subjective. I don't think that there's a such thing. I think that for someone to feel comfortable, they have to bring others to their level. So when someone is, like I said, not just aggressive, but when someone is um, unwavering, like I mentioned before, I believe that a lot of individuals to feel comfortable, they have to bring a certain group down. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. Um, Masculinity in its truest form can't be toxic. I think it's important for a man to be masculine. Masculinity within itself is a positive attribute, and when you put the word toxic on anything, you immediately bring it down. So I don't think those two words can really honestly exist in the same form. How can you have something that's bad and something that's good and necessary in the same conversation? So yeah, I agree that is a term that we have widely accepted to identify a certain demographic. There are some people who do things that's crazy all the time, and you never hear the word toxic masculinity affiliated with them. So
Well, I mean, you can spin that a little bit too, Ken, because I mean, not to pose one gender against the other, but when the women's liberation movement was started, and it was all a lot of speech against masculinity and males. No one threw the word toxic in front of femininity.
right,
So I
right.
mean, I don't believe there's a such thing on that side either. I wouldn't say toxic femininity. That's crazy.
No, I believe it for the exact same reason. If
Yeah.
you feminine within itself is a good thing. So
Yep.
how can you have something that's good and something that's bad in the same area? Either you masculine or you feminine. Either way, I don't see how you can add the word toxic to it and try to create something that's not really there.
True.
All right, Brooks, what you think?
It's it's a thin line. Pretty much what y'all were just saying. I mean, for something to be toxic, again, that's from a negative connotation. So therefore, when it's made mention that masculinity is toxic, that means that individual is all around bad. They doing bad stuff, bad conversation, in a bad environment, the whole 9 yards. So if they're masculine, they're presenting themselves. I would like to say, because I know I don't know Al, but I know you personally. I mean, you a brother. That's the only thing separating us is blood. We are
Right.
businessmen, we're professionals, you know, that's masculine. But how could you say presenting ourselves in a masculine standpoint, family men providing for our families, you know, how is that toxic? So, and then I heard the young lady say that leads, when we walk in the room, the presentation, you know, we speak as, present ourselves as leaders. That doesn't make us toxic. So either we're masculine or we're toxic. You know, it's just like leading the church. And, you know, I've been in that capacity twice. If you're a toxic leader, you're not going to have any followers. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
It's just not gonna happen. You know, but if you present yourself in that masculine standpoint and you have followers, you walk in the room and people can see that presentation, people can see that demeanor, they can feel your presence. You can't be toxic. If you're toxic,
Right.
you just got a negative aurora about yourself altogether.
Right. All right. All right. Yeah. Anything about toxic masculinity? I know you've heard the term before.
I believe that toxic masculinity is derived from this understanding of what masculinity is. A lot of people go to the shiny objects, the achievements, the success that they see that a man has, and pull that out as saying that he's masculine because he's done these things. He drive a nice car, have a nice house. He have a part of this male group where he looks like he's important. So toxic masculinity also comes from uh, people who have been hurt by men who were undeveloped. I don't feel like it's being really taught or shown what masculinity truly is because us four up on here, we have a very you know, business educated standpoint, and we really could not define what masculine is so far. So far, we still don't have a clear definition of what it is. So us educated people on this line, imagine when you presenting the word toxic. You know, people think bad, then masculinity, don't know what it is, and then they've been hurt. So that's it's like that's where it comes from. It comes from people who have a misunderstanding, undeveloped approach to what masculinity truly is. So if we can kind of clear that up, that'll help shape a lot of minds. And honestly, I don't want to say it on here, women are not going to agree with me. It's definitely something women came up with, to be honest. A woman came up with said toxic masculinity. And yeah, we do have know, the female, the feminine movement. Like I have women's empowerment organization. People look at me, asking me, am I a feminist? No, I love my men. I love the way that we support our men, and I believe that we need more leaders appreciated that are men in our communities. So that's pretty much from my standpoint is it's just an undeveloped concept.
And the funny part about it was when I did the research and tried to look up the word, I also went ahead and just Googled masculine traits. And when I Googled masculine traits, I used that same search engine that I did for the definition. Some of the masculine traits absolutely tripped me out. So the 13 masculine traits that they have of a man is he's muscular. He likes to smoke. He wears a beard. He likes guns. He's emotionally in control. He deals with animals. He's handy around the house. He
Hmm.
expresses anger.
Yeah.
He's tall. He wears dark clothes. He likes to gamble. He's interested in sports. And he has a deep voice. And I'm saying to myself,
You
that's
know,
so stereotypical. That whole depiction of masculinity was, to me, it was extremely stereotypical because what
I
does
gotta tell you,
masculine? I mean,
That's
like
what a
the
lot of
brand is
women
something that's
find attractive.
huh? Yeah, so I'm like, a
Listed
man
a
who
lot of
expresses
the
anger.
characteristics
What what does
that
that have to
women
do
seem to
with
find
him being
attractive.
masculine? All right, so I went ahead and I did a little bit more research, and they actually had a few on this one here that I actually could rock with this one. This is some definitions here that I think are truly what defines a masculine man. And I know that with us all being leaders of men and leaders of young boys, I think it's incumbent upon us to change that narrative. Because if we allow the world to train and to lead up these new levels of young men, then they're going to grow up in a lot of the same situations that we did, where they're unable to express themselves, they're fearful about expressing themselves out of fear of judgment and things of that. So I'll show you the list that I saw when I actually went back and did some research. Number one, it says that a masculine man is responsible. I agree with that 100%.
100.
I agree with
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Number one, we don't make excuses. Okay, we don't make excuses. We're result driven. We're natural problem solvers. Okay, and we're overseers. Now, from that perspective, I agree with that 100%. Y'all have any disagreements with that or want to add on to it?
Yeah,
Negative, brother. I'm
go
with
ahead
you.
on, my brother.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
All right, what you got, Al?
Oh yeah, nah. I was just gonna add. Well, I was gonna say I'm with those statements, and guess why? They favor me, right? So at the end of the day, of course I agree 100%. Those other statements, right, or descriptions of uh, toxic masculinity or whatever it was, don't favor me. So I won't agree with it. So guess what? I can only imagine who made up those definitions. I bet you it was a guy, right? So, and that was in defense. Like you let me describe who I am. So when I write my own definition, it's gonna sound like the last one that you just read off.
Yeah. All right. Trait number two of a masculine man, that he seeks self improvement. He seeks self improvement, and I think that number two and number eight that we're going to have kind of go hand in hand. Um, I've never met a man that I consider to be a masculine man that was ever just okay with status quo. I've never met a man that I consider to be a masculine man that was okay with just being average. So constantly seeking self improvement, always looking for ways to be better. Because I also believe that that as a masculine man, we are responsible for more than just ourselves. You can't truly can't really be considered a leader if you just comfortable with where you are and not really trying to get any further. So I think seeking self improvement definitely fits into this category of what I consider a masculine man to be.
Yeah. And some of those definitions that you read off, the first group that you read off, love to smoke and hunt and do all. Guess what though? I do believe that some of those could be true, right?
Mhm.
But what I will also say is just listening to it sounds very outdated, like some of our laws that's on the books right now. Those
Yeah.
descriptions probably was written a long, long time ago. Grandpa and grandfather and them raising up their boys, stick your chest out, look me in the eye.
Put your
Those
Bible
things,
in.
exactly. Those things I say now. Now, don't get me wrong. As we evolve, some of those things will stick around. But just listening to it sound very barbaric, like very, very caveman.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is like what does it call putting the horse before the cart.
Yeah.
The things that are important, they omitted a whole lot of those, and then just put those things that you look at from a surface level and say, this is just what we do. And like you said, a lot of the things they said are things that you do associate with men, but to say that when you're trying to define something, that's the first thing that you come up with. I have a problem with that. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
look at
yeah, Maurice.
a young boy. You look at a young boy who, let's just say, his father wasn't in his life, and he's seeking some guidance on trying to become masculine. If he was to look at this list initially and was to try to emulate himself after this list, we got a young man that may actually go down the wrong path because that nothing there is going to actually help him when it comes to him becoming a better man. Masculine, maybe, but a better man, it's a lot of things on that list that I think was missing. And a lot of it, like you say, is judgmental. A lot of it is stereotypical. To me, a lot of these are more of hobbies of a guy than ability to define masculinity. All right. Number three is that
Okay, so I have. Oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna saying, what if a woman had those traits? Would you think that she had more masculinity in her than feminine? If she was out here hunting and doing those things, would you think of her as being masculine or feminine?
Yeah, that was a good one.
I think it leans more masculine if you look at the way society judges things. I think that yeah, it would lean more masculine, I would think. You have women who like to hunt. Hunting is not typically something that you associate with the female gender. Um, expresses anger. That's definitely not something that you want to associate with the female gender, especially if you're talking about being feminine. You don't see a lot of people who consider themselves being feminine as somebody who expresses anger. Interested in sports. Yeah, sports is mainly a male dominated thing, but in this new age of society that we're in, there are a lot of women that actually like sports. Now, a deep voice, yeah, a deep voice is genuinely associated with a man. Now,
Hey,
are there a lot of deep voice women out there? Yeah, they are. And there are some of them that could be the most feminine person in the world. But, initially when you hear, I call your phone and you have, hello, I'm, just, just
hey,
be
Ken.
honest.
Did I call the wrong number? I mean,
Yeah, I'm just being honest about it. It's not a good thing or a bad thing, but those are generally not things that you will associate when it comes to femininity. A male masculinity is supposed to be, by association, it's a hard thing. Femininity is the exact opposite of it. It's soft, it's nurturing, it's caring. So I think it is kind of like a little stereotype there because we don't want masculine women. We don't. You try not to be a guy that has a lot of feminine traits too. But I would think that list that we just went through, it's a masculine list when it comes to comparing it to the opposite gender. I don't think it's a list that we can use to actually define a masculine guy, though. Like I say, it's more hobbies to me than the actual. It's hobbies versus character flaws. I think.
well, I'm
Hey,
gonna tell you,
go ahead,
you,
go ahead, Dan.
we Ken, we got a home girl, man, that growing up, man, all she right there from Woodville, man. She used to love to hunt. She loved to hunt. Her dad take a hunt. She could outshoot the average guy. And man, as she got older, this young lady developed into being a very attractive young lady.
What are you
But
talking about?
when I tell you she has a kid now and everything, man. But when I tell you could shoot a rifle and she loved going hunting, that's just a hobby that she loves to do. Matter of fact, I
Mm-hmm.
saw on Facebook yesterday, the day before yesterday, she and her dad and Short, the little guy who got the clothing line, they had gone
Yeah.
hunting, man. But man, when I tell you her presentation now is totally feminine, but she could outshoot the average guy. She loves to hunt. She just loves to hunt.
And even with that though, I know who you're talking about. Even with that, even when she goes hunt, man, she puts her own feminine flavor onto it. She be out there with
That's right.
camouflage. Now, her camouflage may have a little pink in it. You
Yeah,
know, so
yeah,
even in doing something that we typically associate with men, you know, she still puts a spin on it to say, you know, hey, I'm still a woman, even though I'm doing this thing here. So I feel you on that one.
yeah.
Mm.
All right. So I think we're at number three is that a masculine man accepts the truth. A masculine man accepts the truth. Um,
Can, Let me elaborate on that. Can I elaborate on that a little
do
bit?
your thing, bro.
Look, I was sharing with someone today about our friendship, our brotherhood,
Hmm.
and it plays a part in masculinity. This is what I consider a friend. A friend gonna ride with you, and y'all tell me if y'all agree or disagree. It ties into what we're talking about. A friend gonna ride with you, whether you're right or wrong, but a real friend gonna also let you know, hey, you need to pipe down a little bit. So I think that plays a part in being a true man, a masculinity. If you can't accept what I would call defeat, if you're wrong, you're just wrong.
Yeah.
Pick up the pieces, fix it, and make it right. Hands down. If that's the way of the world, if you can't accept when you're wrong and try to make it right, you got a problem. That goes back to my original statement. That's an identity issue. Because who wants to think they have some people that feel like they have to be right all the time, but who wants to be that individual? Especially not at this point. And I know in my life, I mean, you have to have somebody that's going to be real with you. And if you're wrong and somebody correcting you, or you have to be able to accept the truth. I mean, whether it's about you, about what you got going on, about what you're doing, whatever the case may be, you have to be able to pipe down and accept that. So if that takes
Yeah.
away from a person's manhood, then they need to ask themselves the question: am I really a man?
Yeah, yeah, that's 100% spot on. And I think a lot of what we see out in the streets right now is a direct reflection of that, where people being rejected or being told that they're wrong and things like that, and then somebody that doesn't really have a control over their emotions go out and they do foolish stuff, acts of violence and stuff like that. So yeah, it's always good to have somebody in your corner that can check you, for lack of a better term, because we all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. But if you're a person who can't take any kind of constructive criticism, I don't see that as being masculine at all. That's really unchained emotions. All right, Al Tariq, anything on that?
Uh, like we stated earlier, there's multiple things that makes up man, masculinity and manhood, right? By someone having a deficiency in an area like
Hmm.
rationale, right? I wouldn't tell a man to question his manhood because he's lacking in an area. I would say, right, those things are taught and over time with maturity. Um, because I can tell you right now, I'll be the first to admit that I stand on. If I think I'm right, man, it's gonna take a hard time to convince me otherwise. Now, as I get older, right, I would listen a little bit more, and if someone can give me some facts, then that'll shift that thought process. But just giving me their opinion, that's something totally different. So I would say that a man not only has a lot of areas that makes up that, but accepting the truth, yeah, we definitely need to once it's established that it's the truth, not accept opinion.
Right. All right. Yeah, what you got? Masculine men accept truth.
Um, I agree. I think that um, it comes with a maturity that they have to have um, as a person. Because, like as Al Tariq was saying, once he has the information in front of him that allows him to make his decision if he want to believe it, change his belief, add to his belief, or whatever. So, yeah, I think it comes with maturity, accepting the truth. Because a lot of right now that I know, A lot of people don't accept the truth because it hurts them. The truth hurts for anybody,
Yeah,
but you have to be at a stage and understanding in life to accept it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything more you can say about that. All right. So then we go to number four, which says that a pillar of masculinity is strength. Self-explanatory. You know, I think a lot of it is physical and mental strength though. The physical strength, we can easily identify with that. We know that when you look at it, the average man is much stronger than the average woman. I don't think anybody can dispute that. But that mental strength is the part that I think a lot of people really don't focus on enough. That discipline, that being able to decipher right from wrong, like I was saying earlier, to be able to stand on your own morals and to see things for what they are. Masculinity also is courageous. I don't know any woman that wants to deal with a dude that she feel that if her life was in danger or if he needed to step up, that he wouldn't do it. I think being courageous, physical courageous as well, being able to step out and look at some things from a business perspective that you not quite sure what the end outcome is going to be. To step out on some things when the end result isn't necessarily defined. Number six is self-reliant. Now, my perspective on this one has changed so much. I can remember having a conversation with a young lady. It's been years ago now. We were having a talk about if she would date a guy that was, I called it down on his luck. Wasn't really making a lot of money, may have been in between jobs and stuff like that. And she was 10 toes down. Like, if he got all that going on, he don't need to be dating nobody. He need to be trying to focus on getting himself together and trying to better himself. Because once you start dating somebody, you know, it's gonna be some expenses that come with it. Even a cheap date requires money. And at that time in my life, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't like that answer. I ain't like that answer at all. So, for a guy to date you, he gotta have everything together. Not understanding that what she was saying was before you come into my life, make sure that you got yourself together. I tend to agree in this more mature state that I'm in right now. So when I say self-reliant, it means that a man needs to be able to provide the basics for himself. He had to be able to provide the basics for himself. Um, Once you get into a relationship, it's more of an interdependence versus an independence thing. But initially, you have to be solid with who you are before you can go out and attempt to do anything else with anybody else. Any of y'all got anything on that one? All right. Number seven is competitive. I'm real with this one. I think I think competitiveness should be a staple of any guy. I don't know. Well, I don't have any guys in my circle that I don't think that are not competitive. You want to be the best. You seek to be the best. You want to constantly make progress. All these things go into being competitive, and I think competitiveness is definitely a staple of being a masculine man. Al, with the area that you in, bro, I know you see this each and every day, 7 days a week, and two times on Sunday about just masculinity. Showing this face and competitiveness.
Yeah, I mean, sports and entertainment like boxing and football and things of that nature. Yeah, the competitive nature of men and women, right? Is on a high. But I would say that is definitely an area that these attributes could be used properly. And so when it comes to, I would just say like over in boxing, all right, when it comes to some of the strong masculine traits, they're targeted and used well when it comes to being competitive.
Yeah, yeah. I I hate to use the word weak, but I
Yeah.
can't really see a man, you know, being a leader or being out front without having some level of competitiveness in it. Now, you can get to a point to where you become too competitive and it becomes a nuisance to everybody around you. But I think that every man should have some level of competitive nature in him to where he's a part of something, whether it be a team or individual sport, may it be a business, may it be anything in life where you want to excel. I just think competitiveness is just the ability to want to excel. I think that's
Yes.
something that's necessary.
Yeah.
And yet you can speak to this. I don't think, and I'm not a woman, so I can't
Hold on,
say
hold on. Real quick
from a
before
woman's
we go.
perspective. From a woman's perspective, could you truly consider a guy attractive or assertive or even being masculine if he wasn't competitive?
Definitely not. um, to me, it's more like, why let anyone outshine you? Like, I be watching Kobe Bryant's story, I watch Shaq's story, Jordan's story, and each last one of them, they out there competing. First one on the court, if someone beat them on the court, they're like, man, I'm going to get up and beat him the next time. But it was also to better themselves. So it wasn't like a competition saying that, um, I'm the best out here. It was more like, I'm the best of me and I'm going to keep showing up. So as long as a man keeps showing up, he has to have that competitive edge to know where his growth is coming from. Because he got to remember where he came from. Like, man, I remember I just couldn't do this or I couldn't do that. And so as he see himself make achievements, he evolves. Every person loves an evolving man. I don't think of any woman, or like when I speak with a man who's in his 60s and 70s, he had to experience some things in his life to get to the mindset and to the success that he's achieved in his golden years. But if he didn't do anything, if he sat on the sidelines, watched everybody else in the court, watched everybody else in the boxing ring, he's like, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. So yeah, we love the competitiveness.
And I think it's ironic that she says that because
That's where I was
I, I,
going.
I watched the Jordan documentary, and I watched a lot of things about Kobe after his passing. And the thing that all great people have in common is a desire to be the best. Jordan wanted to be the best. Jordan talked a lot of stuff, but I
And
think
everything.
Kobe, man, Kobe was on another level when it came to that. Kobe. I watched Shannon Sharp's show where he had Mark Jackson on there, and Mark Jackson told a story about Kobe and Reggie Miller was shooting. I think they was shooting a commercial or something together, and in between the breaks of the commercial, Kobe would ask Reggie Miller about certain moves that he would make. And say, they would see each other on the court, and Reggie would try to dap him up and try to bring back memories of the commercial when they were out there shooting. And say Kobe was in a whole nother place mentally. After the game was over, they could talk, but once they put them jerseys on, it was war. With
Hmm.
Jordan, you hear stories about Jordan would make up scenarios about people that pissed him off and did things to him. Some of them weren't even true
Hmm.
because once he got on the court, he zoned in because he was just that competitive. So I
Hmm.
just think I just think it's paramount, that a man can dig deep and just want to be competitive. Like you say, even if not to beat the next person, just to be better than he was the day before, to compete against yourself. Number 8 is persistent. They kind of go hand in hand. You're not gonna win every day, but Nietz talked about a man who's not willing to give up, a man that goes the extra mile every single day. Even when the circumstances look like he may not win. Persistence is necessary. Persistence is definitely necessary. Y'all have anything on that one?
I think one of the most attractive features of a man that I don't think many men even realize is the discipline that he has. That's very attractive. So if he can do something and say, I'm going to be persistent at it or consistent at it or keep pursuing it, that is something that I think that's something that helps to define his ability to lead. So I really think, being persistent is definitely a masculine trait.
I think the Yankees on my list. And the reason why I say that is because my number 9 is discipline. I think she is on my list, man. Um, I
Now she
don't
was
think,
on it. She on it.
yeah, she on it, bro. I don't think that you can. I don't think that you can achieve anything great without discipline. You know, fitness discipline, mental discipline, work ethic, discipline when it comes to your spending. Everything has to be done in moderation, and that's where I think that discipline comes in. At a man who's not disciplined, in my opinion, is bound for failure. And he definitely can't be a leader of anybody else when he can't properly lead himself. So discipline, 100%. And last but not least, I'm huge on this one. Honor, man. Honor. Got to be a man of your word. If you say you're gonna do something, you do it. If you tell somebody you're gonna be somewhere, you be there. All a man really has is his word. So I'm really, really big on that one.
I used to teach I don't used to. I teach my sons that. I
Yeah.
tell them all the time, if you do something, whether good or bad, own up to it, because once you lose the value of your word, I don't know if you guys are going to like this, but the level of respect for you as a man depreciates.
Oh, that's real.
When you walk into the room, I would like to feel, honestly, it's also a part of protection too. Because I want to be able to tell you what's going on. I want to be able to discuss things with you and feel like you're going to be able to take care of it. But have you ever had a woman or anyone come to you with an issue and you like, all right, I'm going to take care of it. And she looks at you like, when? It's like somehow, somewhere, some way, you lost part of her trust that you're going to handle it, that you're going to take care of it. Same thing with children, anyone else that looks up to you, your co-workers, employees, whoever. If they look at you and they say, you know what, I'm gonna talk to him, I'm gonna say this because he honors his word, he's going to take care of it. That's part of what I feel part of being masculine, is being able to not just to be able to cultivate any environment and have everyone feeling like they can achieve, they can be successful because you're going to be there. It's like, I don't want to keep rambling on, but it's just like that honorable thing. I love to be in a room with a man that I can respect. I honor his word, I honor his opinion, I honor his vision. All of that truly matters.
Yeah. Yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy. What you got, Al?
I mean, she killed that one, man. That's
She killed it. She
not
killed
for
it,
real.
bro.
It's nothing that I can say on that one. I would put a 10 point, a 10 alpha up here. If somebody want to follow behind it, I would say what needs to be added in all of this for as men, right? This is what we truly need more of, and that is men that's willing to be my brother's keeper. The men that's willing to help others,
Right.
give themselves selfishness, right? So I would add that as a 10 alpha to say we need more brothers that's like yourself, Ken, that will reach out to brothers like myself and say, hey, let's have a conversation. Because we got Niet here and then Brother Brooks, that I learned something from here, that part where we talked about rationale. Man, I work on that thing daily. Okay. So when we got to that part, I was quiet. And then I started seeing, I can actually be more rational when it comes to certain things. So 10 alpha, fellas, my brother's keeper. If you see another brother that needs help, that needs leadership, that needs guidance, advice, a shoulder, a ear, be there.
Yeah. And
And
I
can
was
I?
listening to the webinar that I sent you, man. The guy was saying that that it's hard to pour from an empty cup. The
Mm-hmm.
first law of survival is self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a lot of guys out here who are actually putting themselves in position to be leaders, but have not first mastered self. That we need to really take a deep dive and learn to, master self and become competent in who we are before we go out there and try to pour into others. Doesn't mean that we can't assist them, but to just say that, I'm going to take leadership of this situation when you really haven't quite gotten self under control yet. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that that's a process, it doesn't happen overnight, but we got to make sure that we are strong and that we are solid before we go out there and try to impose our will and impose our belief systems on other people. But, you know, the list is solid, man. I look at some of the things that I need to work on. I think I'm going to constantly be a work in progress. I've made a lot of progress from the guy that I used to be, 5, 10, 15 years ago. But, I wake up every day, with the sole intention of, just trying to be better. I got two boys in there that I honestly didn't realize because I didn't grow up with a dad. So I honestly didn't realize the value of having that man in the household and, you know, how much kids really look at the things that you do, the things that you say. They hold you accountable for all the things that you are. And, it's actually made me a better person because I realize now that, my legacy is two rooms over, and the way that they handle things or the people that they end up becoming, rides heavily on what I show them that manhood and masculinity is all about. And, I try hard on a daily basis to govern myself accordingly, for a lack of a better term, to be better, to give them an example that they can follow, and, not have them, 10, 15 years down the line, being somebody that's out here wilding out, looking for attention, trying to figure out who they are and where they fit in at. So having them around has definitely, made me better. Um, and even with all that being said, the one thing that I think that I can do better and that I'm actually trying to do better with is I think one of the things that masculinity is that I didn't put on the list, it is the ability to give security to those people who you are responsible for. And security is not just financial security. Security is not just, physical security. But a lot of times it just means that, that you can be present. You can be present and that you're equipped to handle the things that you have to handle. And anybody that knows me know I'm a workaholic. I can't. I work. I put it down. I do what I have to do because I understand that a part of being a man is to be a provider too. But with everything, there is balance. You have to be a provider, but you also have to be present. And just being totally transparent about it. That's the one thing that I struggle with. I struggle with that. I get tunnel vision. I get it on a job. I get focused on something, and for a split moment, man, I may just lose sight that anything else actually exists. Not realizing that there are people who I'm responsible for, that I have to be there and be present for them too. So, it's a work in progress for all of us, I think.
Right.
I believe, I respect, and I appreciate every single man who works on himself. Period. Because it's known that men are not really. It's not really built in you to be able to handle your emotions as effectively as women do. To
Yeah,
be honest, when men have to be vulnerable, when you're vulnerable or you're open and you express yourself, you get a lot of backlash, like from women, from your father, your homies, whoever. You get a lot of backlash. So it takes a lot to be authentic. It takes a lot to even love. It takes a lot to show fear. It takes a lot from you to be able to do all those things. So
as you're developing yourself, as you like, you know what, I'm going to face all of this, and you become the best, better version of yourself. And I commend every last man who does that, because I know it's not easy. It's not easy at all, because anything you tell someone, they can throw it right in your face. When they throw it in your face, it's like that makes things 10 times harder, because you be ready to shut down. Like, you know what, I'm just going to do this on my own. And when you do this on your own, you don't have a brother to turn to. You turn around, you make a lot of mistakes from emotions that you haven't even tapped into yet, but you're not able to go to anyone or feel comfortable with telling anyone how you truly feel. And that's what isolates you. When you're isolated, you're not able to learn, you're not able to grow, you become stagnant. So then here you go, you find someone, or I'm gonna say your tribe or your group, and you meet these other men. I really feel like men need to be around other men who've been down that road to help lead them, because it's not easy. I mean, I see y'all. I know it's not easy, because you get judged for every last thing. If you don't have someone to help guide you, everyone needs a mentor. Everyone needs one. So I appreciate you guys who go out here and be vulnerable, be honest, be authentic. So I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you because, you know, I don't know, that kind of meant something to me, man, because you don't really find, men need a safe place too.
Yeah.
We're told to be masculine, we're told to go out there and conquer the world and stuff, but you can't be hard all the time. You can't be non-emotional all the time. So, a woman that can create an environment where a man feels that he can be vulnerable without judgment is important. I think it's also important to have those men in your circle that you can go and that you can talk to, without fear of judgment. That's the one thing I love about, my relationship with Brooks, man. We can chop it up all the way to the bottom and not worry about, number one, the conversation going anywhere, and number two, being judged in that moment. We may not necessarily agree with the way that we feel, or we may not understand it, but it's definitely a place that we know we can come and we can talk to one another without judgment.
Yeah. Hey, man, I want to add something on top of that, right? Well, I want to add something in addition to. So, one of the things, and I was going to wait until the end, but it's the perfect segue right here to jump on it. And it just popped up on my phone, a notification from the app itself. One of the things that we have yet to mention is spirituality, confidentiality in God, strength in being able, because we need other brothers, men on this earth, physical form, flesh, but they're weak in that as well, just like we are. So at the end of the day, right, we need a strong connection with a higher being, whatever you choose to call him or her, right? We need a strong connection that when we do, if we do choose to be hard, we can be soft in our own comforts of our own home, cry like a baby. You ain't got to worry about, like you said, the word getting out or your details of why you crying getting out, right? You get answers back through prayer. And then at the end of the day, you have that piece of you that you can pass on to. I got two sons myself, all right? My 20-year-old just went upstairs right now. And I think if it wasn't for my grandparents having me grounded in church, like a big brother of mine say, I'm positive but not perfect. So at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, we all make mistakes, flaws, and that we need to correct. But I think being rooted in the word, that has kept me, because I made some foolish mistakes, and by the grace of God, I didn't get caught for them, right? And seeing others go down certain paths that I went down or attempted to go down, when they did get caught and the wrath came down on them, I remember what my grandparents said. My grandfather told me when I was 13 years old, he said, son, every man, now he used the term man because he was old school, but he said every man is one simple mistake away from the graveyard or prison. And then I questioned that when I was 13. I was like, Granddad, what are you talking about? He said, just think about it. I mean, a righteous man can live all of his days in a good way, and that one day that he might go out and have, let's say, too much to drink and make that simple mistake of going driving home, hit somebody, kill him. Now he just spent 45, 50 years on this earth mistake free, and that one mistake cost him his freedom, possibly for life. So I would say the word tells us all. That's our instructions to this world. So I would put that as one alpha.
That's solid. That's solid, man. And that I keep going back to that webinar that I sent you, man, because there was just so many jewels in there. How the guy was saying that, like when you cry, you release stress, and that's why after you cry, you feel better.
Feel so good. Yep.
I never thought about that, but the documentary was so on point. It was so on point, and you're absolutely right. That spiritual base.
Yeah.
That spiritual base is important.
Good tears and bad tears feel good after you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew a man once that told me he never cried.
Oh.
And when he told me that he never cried, I asked him questions. I said, you never cry for your children? You never cry for your mom? You never cry for yourself? Honestly, I felt that he was weak. I was like, wow, you can't cry because you don't know how to deal with your emotions. So you're afraid to show them. You're afraid it's going to happen when you cry. So that's one thing that's one lesson that I learned as far as people or men expressing emotions. If he can't express emotion, that's because he have a fear that he doesn't have control over him.
Yeah, about to make me cry right now.
It's deep though, man. And
that was real deep. I mean, the opposite of strong strength is weakness, and she saw that, which that makes a lot of sense. A person that can't show emotion at all. Now he used the word never, and that's crazy. Like, wow. Yeah, that would be a weak person for me as well.
And then you never know.
He did cry later. He told me a story where he cried. So
it's gonna happen eventually. I mean, and I just feel like a person that can't cry is somebody that really hasn't mastered their emotion.
Well, that's a soulless person.
What happens when you get to that point to where that emotion just boils over? Now you got somebody that has no control over
loose cannon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're trying to tell me you never lost a loved one that was close enough to you that it brought upon the emotion of tears. You never experienced the beautiful experience of the Holy Spirit. You never felt pain strong enough that it brought on tears. Hey, that's Clark Kent that ain't hit the phone booth yet. I don't know what's going on with that kid. I'm scared of that person. Like you said, I keep my piece on me at all times if they was around.
But you said nothing human about that.
No, that's soulless. That's a soulless person, man.
And I think that's that we need to make sure that in teaching our young boys about how to be men, that we give this narrative to them. Like I said, I remember growing up. I was told that boys didn't smile. Boys, we didn't laugh, we didn't cry. And you think about all that, and then when you become a man, the chief complaint that most women have about men is that we can't express ourselves. When we've been told from day zero that ain't what we do.
But look, a caveat to that, though, if we take it all the way back to grade school and through the school system, right? And I would say from my experience and from what I've seen, there's not a lot of men as teachers, and when boys, especially of color, or I ain't gonna say of color, from a very hostile or active environment, right, go to school, the job, I would say, is to control and suppress what they naturally have deep down inside of them. So it's not only that we don't have other brothers or people to talk to and deal with our emotions. Our emotions are bottled up by others as we grow up, right? Not just somebody saying you don't smile, you don't this. You know, testosterone is real. So if you got a boy pinging across the room, instead of giving him a pill or some medicine and a prescription or a label or punishment of suspension and expulsion, give him a male in front of him who can relate. That's why I champion. I couldn't do the job. So when I was in the military and people used to come up to me and say, "Thank you for your service," I would tell firefighters, definitely teachers, police, and everybody else that do the jobs that I don't care too much to do. On the teacher side, I say thank you for yours because you're underpaid doing a hostile job as well, especially if you're in the city. You need a gun just as well as I do when I'm in uniform. So at the end of, I'm just being real. So at the end of the day, a lot of our masculinity is suppressed by other people. Note to the school system, and they have to do certain things to make others comfortable, and that's why the term toxic masculinity came about.
Yeah, and in the school system, the only way you really have any opportunity to get that testosterone
Sports.
out usually is in sports.
Yep.
And we in episode one we talked to teachers and principals and things. They talked about how a lot of their programs right now are being underfunded because tax dollars and things like that. So I feel like in the community that's when we need to come together and make sure that these kids have the things that they need to be able to go to school and be able to have those avenues to get some of that energy out. Um, I don't know about where you guys are, but I know like in certain areas around here, they don't even have like recess for the younger kids to go out and hit the playground and stuff. And when you were in school, it just felt like it was just you were just not doing classwork, but thinking about it and related to what you were saying, that's the opportunity to go out and burn some of that steam off and get some of that energy off, so they can come back in the classroom and actually maybe be a little bit more mannerable or not as excited or things of that nature. So you definitely make a good point there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm not gonna hold you all up all night, man. I think it was an excellent conversation. I think it's one that we need to have. Having a lady in the room, I think absolutely made the conversation more balanced. Because a lot of times, men, we look at things strictly from one perspective, and that's the definitely one thing with this show that I want to do is to be able to look at things from multiple perspectives and realize that sometimes the things that make us different, we need to actually embrace those things because somewhere in the middle there's balance.
Yeah.
That's why having the man and the woman in a kid's life is important. So there's that balance. The man may offer some things, but the lady can offer some things too. So I definitely appreciate both of you all for jumping on, man. Do y'all have anything in closing before we conclude the show?
Yeah, I would say go first, Niet.
Honestly, I'm gonna say that I feel like there should be a whole lot more conversation, especially when it comes to men um, being valued. I really think there needs to be conversation to be had because right now, if you look at society, you have to be tough. That's it. You just be tough. Don't let nobody. I don't know if I can say the F word, F you over. Don't let nobody take anything from you. That's what you're taught. You're taught to be tough, especially with how things are now. So I think more of us females or more of us women need to understand that men are human. They have feelings too. It's not just about him providing or him giving you, your Louis Vuitton bag or taking you on all these trips and things like that. It's appreciate our men. Appreciate them. I feel like more conversations need to be had about it. Appreciate this one.
Yeah.
I appreciate you for jumping on and appreciate your insight, man. Your insight, pretty heavy with it. It's kind of hard to come behind her, man, when she lay it down the way she lay it down.
That's why I was waiting. I'm waiting on you to tell me to go because I don't even want to just jump in there. Some of that stuff she said, well, most of that stuff that she said deserves some dry air behind it so people can think about what she just said. Right.
Right.
So a moment of silence for Niette's comment. All right, so I'll follow up behind that real quick, then I'm gonna get up out of here. First off, man, appreciate you, brother Ken, reaching out to me and Niette, and shout out brother Brooks for his comments, his input on the discussion tonight. You really, I love the platform. I'm subscribed to the channel. I always be tuning in, even when I'm not on the panel. I would say that Niette hit on a point at the end of her statement when she said appreciate them, right? Talking to the females. I'm going to talk to the females, other brothers, and the world when I said not only appreciate men, masculinity, and all the other stuff, but try to understand or learn, right? Because for someone who's been a certain way for so long, they don't see anything wrong with it. So for you to come and impose and say it's wrong, it's toxic, it's bad, just understand that they're not going to receive none of that because they don't think nothing is wrong with it, right? So try to learn, understand. If you haven't been around those type of environments or men that has those traits, get around more so you can learn and understand. Then you will have a better way to contribute some constructive criticism, some advice, those things. So I say one more time, salute, brother Ken. Appreciate you, bro. If you give me the heads up, hey, I'm 100% full-time MWR Financial from home. So if you give me the heads up, I'll always be available, my dude.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be the last time we do this one. Just from some of the things that we talked about tonight, I had a couple ideas that actually came in mind, and I actually think Niette might be onto something. Do women even appreciate men to the degree to where they feel the need to learn us at? Nobody knows everything. Nobody knows everything, so it's going to get to a point to where the only way you're going to be able to adequately handle a situation is that you need to actually do research on it.
Mm-hmm.
We're different. We're different. As much as society says that we should be equal and we're all created the same, DNA says differently.
Yeah,
men have testosterone. It's much more powerful than people actually think about it is. And I think that sometimes we actually need to embrace our differences. Our differences is what make us special.
mm-hmm.
So I think that would be an excellent conversation. Do women truly understand men, number one, and do they truly appreciate us? Because a lot of that frustration, a lot of that acting out, a lot of that desire to be heard, if a man was truly felt valued and truly felt heard and truly felt appreciated, and like we talked about earlier, if he felt that he had that safe place to where he could actually get some of those things off his chest without fear of being judged, would that help?
Man, hey Ken, I gotta chime in real quick on that. From experience, personal experience, right? If a man confides in his woman and then she turns around on some of the stuff that was spoken about, conversates about those things in her circle of just females her friends who she think that is going to stay in that circle, would you classify that as a form of cheating?
It's betrayal, if nothing more.
Betrayal is cheating, bro. So at the end, yeah, you hit it on the head. So at the end of the day, right? I would say men understand women, women understand men, but as well as we are held to honor or I wouldn't say, yeah, be a man of your word. We look on the other side. And I don't like, going back and forth, and it makes it like a man versus woman thing. But like you said in your statement, you said we all need to understand each other and try to learn. And that's good, man.
Yeah, yeah. This, like I said, this topic wasn't nearly as easy to prepare for as the other ones that we did, but I think that, well, I know that, if given an opportunity for people to actually hear it and to actually dig deep on it, it definitely could be one of the more impactful conversations. So this is going to be one that we'll revisit, and I'm definitely going to reach out to both of you all to come in and contribute to this conversation, man, because it's all important. It's all important for us to ever get where we want to go as a society, as a people. We got to start dealing with these tough topics.
Hmm.
We blame it on mental health and things like that, but a lot of it is just communication, just conversations, just being heard. I'm a person that believes that we can heal from within
Hmm.
if given ourselves the opportunity to do so. And I think
Hmm.
it's conversations like this that actually help us to heal, help us to move forward, and help us to see that our differences is actually what unite us. So, um, on that, man, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this thing now because I can talk about this forever, man. I enjoyed this conversation. Um, I appreciate you all for coming and being a part of this madness because we had no layout whatsoever. We had no script, and I just wanted to just have the talk, just to see where we could take this thing to. And I definitely am pleased with where we ended this thing up at. So, for those of you who are watching on Facebook, once again, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. First of the year, we're going strictly YouTube. We won't be on Facebook, so strictly YouTube. So go ahead and like the YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe to it. The reason why I'm doing this is because with YouTube, I know we can basically talk about whatever we want to talk about. With Facebook, it's going to be a whole lot of censoring and things like that. And first of the year, these conversations are going to go somewhere that Facebook probably not going to want us to go. We probably going to get through our Facebook first of the year with some of these conversations. So I want to go ahead and get everybody accustomed to going to the YouTube page, and we can go ahead and have the conversations there, and we can get as deep into this thing as we want to. So once again, man, I appreciate you all for jumping on. I'll definitely be in contact with both of you all later on this week so that we can kind of discuss some things and see where we want to further push this narrative to. So, um, with everything being said, man, I appreciate everybody for jumping on. Gonna go ahead and bid everybody a good night. We look forward to seeing you all same time, same place on next week. Y'all be careful out there.